Happiness in action. Happiness in action. All right. Now, I want to hand it over to my friend, digital journalist, program officer, Jadel Kabiro, to take it over. Karibu sana.
Well, thank you very much. Happy? Happy? Well, we're going to have a conversation about the Workplace Happiness Program to get some views by different stakeholders about what it is and what it means for us and for different organizations. So please allow me to welcome the following panelists. Professor Peter Kagwanja, who is an intellectual advisor, reform strategist, and policy thinker, was actually an advisor to President Kibaki, and he's a think tank in one person. Karibu sana. CS Bridget Mutemi, who is a director of the Workplace Program. She's a life coach, governance professional, and motivational speaker. We have CS Gilbert Kiprono, the Director of Strategy and Research at ICS. Amefika, we have been waiting for you, sir. He's actually representing the CEO of ICS, FCS, Jeremiah Karanja. We also have our happy human, Sophia Waweru. She's a happiness global speaker, author, and founder of Aluyana Limited. Happy human, always happy. Shida ni hakuli, as I'm told. Karibu sana. And we have the one and only Trophy Kiprono, who is a communication strategist and life coach, as well as a co-founder of Brand Experts Kenya. She has a book, Mastering the Art of Office Politics. She's going to tell us whether you can be happy despite the office politics that exist. Karibu sana. So our conversation is on making the workplace happier and more productive. When you have a panel, at least we get to understand different viewpoints of happiness and the conversation that we're going to have. But maybe let me start with you, CS Bridget Mutemi, because you are a director of the Happiness Workplace Program. Many people think, what is happiness? It's a question that comes when you talk about happiness. What is it? Why are we celebrating the International Day of Happiness today?
Thank you. There are two.
You can just switch it on.
Thank you. There are two questions in that. You asked, why do we celebrate happiness?
And what it is.
What is it?
Yes.
It's not easy to define it. So today we won't go into the definitions of what happiness is, because it's very broad in its definition. But why do we celebrate it? First of all, is to make people aware of the need to be happy. The fact that ever since you were born, everything you do, the reason why you are here today, the reason why you do everything you do, why you wake up every day, is because you are pursuing happiness. You are doing whatever you want to do so that finally you be happy. The problem is we don't enjoy the journey. We are looking for the destination only. Yeah.
Why is it important, this happiness that we're talking about, especially now the Workplace Happiness Program in sense?
Happiness is very important because it gives your life meaning. If you're not happy, then your life ceases to be meaning. It's the essence of your being, the very reason that you exist. If you're not happy, your life is not meaningful. And now, why it's important at the workplace is because not only do you spend most of your time at work, you spend most of your life at work. From the time you get into workplace, you're 18 and you're supposed to start making money, you enter the workplace, all your productive years are spent at the workplace. So it's not just the hours, it's your life. And so you leave the workplace when you're least productive. So if you are aiming to work so that you make money and be happy, then you're getting happiness very late. So the Happiness Workplace Program is supposed to show you how to be happy, to find joy and meaning while still at work, because work and life are not separate. They belong to one and the same human being. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is here. James Ngugi you can come to the podium and join us in this conversation. Even as you're coming, let me talk to Professor Peter Kagwanja. You've been in government, you've done a lot of research, you have been in academics at the University of Nairobi. What have you seen in your extensive research that you can say leadership styles do matter when it comes to this conversation about happiness? What have you noticed in these organizations that you've been in that you feel this workplace conversation is important?
Thank you, Kabiru. I think we need to, first of all, think the workplace. That's the place we need to first invest in thinking about, because the workplace, to many, is the office where you work, where you make money, and so on. But the workplace is larger than that. It is the country where we are. What do you talk about the peasants who have never seen an office or have never been anywhere, but they work every day? So the workplace is larger than the office, so that when you're talking about happiness in the workplace, then you must define the nation. Let me start, basically, you asked me about my experience. I'm a historian. I started off as a historian, a political scientist, and so what have you. Now, Kenya is very interesting in one way. There is a story that has been written and films produced about it, but the ordinary Kenyans don't think about it. It's a small place called the Happy Valley. And the Happy Valley is somewhere here in the Rift Valley, Naivasha, as you get there. But when that civilization existed, that Happy Valley civilization existed, it stretched from Nakuru to beyond Naivasha, then stretch of the way, and its capital was Nyeri, what they used to call the treetops around there. Between 1920s and the 1940s, a group of very wealthy, aristocrats from across the West, from America, Britain, and mainland Europe, decided to come here. And they came here for nothing else but happiness. That's why their civilization was called the Happy Valley. And they really took the European meaning of happiness, hedonism. Hedonism is where you are just pursuing nothing else but pressure. Therefore, at that time, I am told, when you met a beautiful lady and you wanted to introduce yourself to her, you greeted her like this: "Oh, are you married or you are from Kenya?" Because in Kenya, everything went. And therefore, that was the Happy Valley. Obviously, hedonistic life will end up in misery because pressure does not get you far. And therefore, all the queens and the kings of the Happy Valley either committed suicide, shot each other, or simply hanged themselves in Europe or somewhere. It's a very sad story of that form of happiness. So this is one of the experience, and by the way, I'm saying this because I am publishing a book this year on the legacy of Happy Valley on the Kenyan nation. Fellow scholars like Mahamud Mamdani and others talk about the legacy of colonialism as ethnicity, as this, poverty, and so on. My argument is that the legacy of the Happy Valley is the decadence that you find in Kenya today. Extreme materialism, the hedonism you see. When you become a boss, you want to not be just because be a boss of men, but every woman. Forgive my language. You know, that this is the Kenyan culture because it comes from the Happy Valley. Why is that? Is it because our fathers cooked for those people? Is it because our fathers were the ones looking after their cattle or looking after their children and tending their farms? I'm talking about the road drameas, they are people you hear about. And it's not a long time ago, we are talking about 60 years ago. That legacy is something that we need to think about. So that's why I'm publishing, that book, The Legacy of the Happy Valley.
Have you seen leadership styles affecting organizations? And even as you say, it's not just about the workplace, it's also about the country. Yeah. Have you seen it affect organizations and, impact the productivity of the staff?
That is why I'm going that back to say, in 2002, Kenyans were rated in the world as the happiest people. And what had happened? President Mwai Kibaki had come to power. and Kenyans who are optimistic about how the future is. So there's a connection between happiness, whether in workplace or anywhere, and hope. The two are connected. But at the same time, I have seen leadership connection between unhappiness leading to sustainable happiness. What do I mean? For you to get freedom, you have to fight for it. I mean, your chair,
Yes.
Kiraito, I know him. I have written even a book about him.
Yes.
Kiraito is a quintessential struggler who has struggled for human rights and everything. But how has he come where he is? Because of unhappiness. If he tells his story and his VIF.
He's also writing a book.
And his VIF.
Yes.
They will tell you about the time when life was very difficult.
Yeah.
But it is that unhappiness that gave birth to the current happiness. So when a mother is going to get a baby, she's the most unhappy person. But at the end of it, there is happiness. In other words, there are two meanings to life, and also which define leadership. One is when you define happiness as pleasure, just to be happy. The second is when you define happiness as a purpose. It is the second that is important. The first one is not very important. The second one. Then you define a purpose. Do you want to define it like Maslow, who define individualism? You know, I am moving as an individual up to the ultimate happiness, the self-actualization. As an individual. Or do you think like us, Ubuntu? In Ubuntu, you want to think as I am because we are, and because we are, therefore I am. I cannot be happy alone. I have to be happy with everyone.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of leadership, whether it's workplace or elsewhere we are looking for, where you are not just thinking about your individual happiness.
Yes.
So when you say, I need a salary increase, that's different, because that's about you. But when you say we need a water machine to give us water, that's collective happiness. Everybody is going to benefit from that. In other words, there must be a neat balance between your happiness and the happiness of everyone else. There must be a neat balance between your happiness and the environment where you live. Now, today is a Muslim day. A Muslim philosopher called Al-Ghazali. Al-Ghazali says that in order to be totally happy, you must know yourself, you must know where you are working, you must know the society as a whole, and you must know God. That's how he defines that whole thing. In other words, in a workplace, it is not about knowing the work you are given and your needs as an individual. You must understand the totality of the workplace. Whether you are a leader or you are a worker. This is what it means.
Let me bring Trophy into this conversation. I believe what you're saying is actually what the NMG CEO was saying.
Yes.
Trophy, you've written a book, Mastering Office Politics. And you say, let me just read, career success depends not on competence alone, but on acting strategically within the unwritten rules of the workplace. Can you be happy despite these office politics that are there? I think someone has just mentioned them, where it's actually you before, that you have these staff people that don't like you for no reason. They just want to sabotage you. And you're trying to have this workplace happiness work for you to become productive, and the CEO and the senior staff are trying to become more profitable. Can this work?
Well, the answer is yes and no, because we live in a world that is more realistic than idealistic. Now, happiness is more about something that you give yourself. It's not something that someone gives you. You can actually be with people and you are not happy. Now, the reason I believe, and I wrote the book Mastering Office Politics, people are not happy is because they don't accept human nature for what it is. They try to make people like themselves. But once you accept human beings for what they are, and allow me to quote someone called Dale Carnegie, who once said that when dealing with people, realize that you're not dealing with logical people, but emotional creatures bristling with prejudice and motivated by pride and vanity. So that means that colleague of yours who is trying to sabotage you is simply acting from a point of ambition. It's not personal. So to be happy in the workplace, learn to take nothing personally. And as I conclude, someone once said, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one tries to adapt the world to himself.
So that is how you create the balance.
Yes, you have to understand happiness is a state of being. It's not, as she said, it's not a destination, it's a journey. So it's a balance between the good times and the bad times. It's understanding that everything must exist in duality. It's finding happiness even during days that you don't feel like waking up. So happiness is something that is a daily thing you pursue. And it's only you who can give yourself. Nobody can make you happy.
CS Kiprono, let me ask you this, because I'm just thinking about a toxic work environment. I'm saying, you know, your staff want to sabotage you. From a governance perspective, what do you do? And how does this affect an organization which is toxic?
Thank you. I think we've all talked about happiness. And first of all, we need to understand that happiness, as she says, it has from you, yourself, from within. In fact, people fake smiles. You find that sometimes people force smiles so that they are able to interact. Otherwise, when you check internally, they could be suffering. They could be going through a lot. So sometimes you also find employees when they come to the workplace, you work together. There are people who, of course, they do backstabbing. They know that this one is not a performer, this one, and some consider themselves as best, according to their own metrics. Now, talk about governance, we are saying that this institution or the organization or corporate entity is led. And it's led, of course, there is a board, there is the management, and then you come to the mid-level before even you go to the lower cadre staff. If there is a disconnect between the board, between the top leadership and management, and where the role of the CEO comes in handy to ensure that he breaches that gap, if there is a disconnect, people down here will not be happy. Let's talk about, consider even the issue of salary. By the way, money doesn't make you happy. Somebody told me, if you go down to the village, and what Professor said, down there at the village, do you know that that considered poor person sleeps well? Because they feel contented. They are happy with what they have. But some of us, I work, I am an officer, I know I earn a certain salary, I start comparing myself to somebody else. And by the way, that leads to this, what we are talking about currently, corruption and people stealing. Because I would want to live like the way another person lives. Look at a case where you have an employee who comes to work daily. And I want to appreciate those who are CEOs. You expect your officers to perform very well. They also have expectations, with the, they have some definition of happiness, and they're saying that maybe for me to be happy, I must have money. I must, be upgraded and all that. Now, if, for example, there is no fairness, if you promote on the basis of, you have preference to a certain officer, it's not on the basis of, for example, performance. That will create a toxic environment. If it's a boss, I have my officers, and there is some more leniency towards certain quarters of staff. If I find a bit of support and I support a certain quarter of staff and leave others out, others will be unhappy. There will be that toxic work environment. And for your information, you will not achieve that productivity that you even asked before. You will be straining. There are small things that somebody mentioned, and we were with, I would quote CS, Sharon Kisire. I was somewhere and she said, she mentioned of where she used to work, that people used to complain of small things. And these are the small things that they used to complain. We can't be allowed to take tea. We can't be allowed to do this and that. But you know what she did and what she said she did? She ensured that she made a plea, of course, through the CEO to the board, for some small provision, even in the budget, to make employees happy. I can see the chief happiness officer, of course, and another happiness officer at Isuzu. Last time when we had a conversation, this is what he said. Sometimes you even have to smile with your people. It's not about the stony face that you saw as a boss that will make someone perform.
Yes.
It's not how you want to force people to work. No. Yes. It's how you are able to integrate, to work together. Calm down. I am a director. How can I go down and work with an officer without looking at my portfolio, without looking at my position? And that, if you're not going to have that, kind of seamless interaction, I mean, working and supporting your staff, you'll have that toxic environment and you'll not be able to work very well. And if I know that the board, every other time, and Wasika has been our council member, and he hired me at the institute. He interviewed me around almost 9 years ago. And I met him and he told me, Kiprono, you are still at the institute. I told him, yes, I still work at the institute. Okay, you must be very happy.
Yeah.
You must be very happy.
Are you happy?
I am happy.
Let's bring Sophia into this conversation. Sophia Waweru, what global trends are happening? You're a student, a fellow of the Happiness Studies Academy in New York, USA. Some say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. What are organizations doing there that are successful? And some of the people here who are senior staff and they're thinking, but we are doing fine. Do I need to incorporate this? What is happening?
When I say happy, happy, say happiness. Happy, happy? Yes, that's how we do it here. So, starting from the bigger picture, what does happiness, what does ideal happiness look like? And the best part about the state of affairs right now globally is we have visibility. So, like right now, we know Bhutan. Who knows Bhutan? It's a very small country. It's a country that actually uses happiness to measure their status. How we measure our gross national product, they use their gross national happiness to see how is their welfare. How is that? And then we have a country like Finland, which is ranked the happiest country in the world. Why is that the case? When we go to Dubai, we all want to travel to Dubai. Dubai has a whole ministry dedicated to happiness. A whole ministry. The way we have a Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance, there is a Ministry of Happiness doing this. And it's because everyone can see the future. And there is a speech that really sat well with me from Chief Alfred. When you lead with empathy, that is home. Because we are integrated. Separation is an illusion. There is no separation. And there's nothing like work-life balance. It's about work-life harmony. You're one person, you're one entity. So how do you get to embody everything to deliver the best results with maximum productivity and profitability? Because both can coexist. So what has happened from the past is scarcity and limited mindset, where we think you need one or the other. You can't be profitable and happy. But both can actually coexist. Because if I am a happy human, it means I can deliver results more seamlessly. If I am showing up at my workplace and I feel cared for, then it is home. And coming back home to Kenya, we actually have chief happiness officers, like Mask, the shipping company. There is Sharon Kotut, who is the director of Eastern Africa, HR. She is the chief happiness officer, and it just pops there. So it's good to see that awareness happening. There are also companies like Deloitte, they have a chief happiness officer. We have Amazon, Google on a global scale. So we are picking on that momentum and bringing it home because we can. And as we wait to see, can we ever get the happiness here to the status of having a ministry? That's why we are here. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So bravo to you for being in this room, because you're already making change. Change begins at home. And over and beyond that, I've started by, it's always said, if you can't teach a 5-year-old what you're doing, you actually don't understand the concept. So I've started a collection of books for children on happiness just for you. And that is bringing the concept home. I met earlier with Hannah. I think she's here. She's from the Ministry of Education. Yay, shout out to you. And that is how we start these collaborations to make change. Workplace happiness program, as well as if all of us grew knowing about happiness, would we really be here? We would be so advanced such that it's a way of life. We don't need to be here. So bravo to you for being here to make that change happen.
Thank you very much. We have Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. James Ngogi, you're here with me. Can we measure happiness, and what key metrics are needed? Because now people have subscribed to this. We all agree that it is important. What are the steps now to understand where we are at as a country and even at the workplace?
Thank you. Let me start by correcting you. My name is James Nganga.
Sorry.
But you're not very far away. I have a brother called Ngugi. Okay. So I wouldn't mind being called the name of my brother. Right. It is very possible to measure happiness. But then, as a scientist, the first thing that we need to do is define happiness. Because without having defined happiness, then you will not know what are the elements you're going to measure. Because if you're going to go to workplace and administer a tool, you need to have come up with the correct indicators that are going to indicate to you that the person you're going to speak to is happy or not happy. So what are the metrics that you're going to put, or what are the questions led by your indicators which are defined by the definition of your happiness? A number of countries have done the measurement of the happiness. She has mentioned Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Now, what these countries do is that some of them use the subjective well-being measurement, where, like for instance, the World Happiness Report. So what happens in that case is that they ask a subjective question to the respondent. And for the UN World Report, what they ask is, on a scale, they use a ladder called country ladder, and they ask on a scale of, or looking at a ladder that has 1 to 10, tell me how you feel about life, where are you in the totality of life. So if you say 1, then it means you're unhappy. They have a cutoff. But then, when you look at that, then it is not holistic, because when you read literature, happiness is multidimensional. It is not just the way you're feeling, because you might be happy today because of a certain thing that happens to you. But then there are several, multidimension means there are several dimensions to happiness. There is culture, there is health, there is money, and so forth and so forth. There is governance. If you feel there is corruption, of course, you feel unhappy. So in that case, and again, I refer to the lady who spoke about Bhutan. When you look at the methodology that is used by Bhutan, they use that multidimensional approach of measuring happiness. And they define happiness as having 9 dimensions. There is health, there is culture, education, and so forth, a number of them. And then within each of the dimension, there are a number of indicators that they measure. And that's why I'm saying in Kenya, I don't think I've tried to look at literature where we have had anyone in Kenya who has measured happiness. I've not seen, apart from that one that is done by, that is the world, done in the World Happiness Report that she mentioned. Finland is the happiest. I think we are ranked 115, if I'm not wrong, the happiest country. So I think we are 115 out of 147 happiest country. So what we are going to do, or what we need to do, is define happiness, the elements, the indicator, the dimension thereof, and then within there we come up with the indicators, and then come up with a robust survey design. Look at the data sources. Where are we going to get the data sources? Are we going to administer a tool to our respondent in the workplace? And then we develop a very clear and concise questionnaire that is going to have questions that are going to respond to our indicators.
I know we are trying to work together to fulfill that. Maybe final remarks as we are ending this. I hope we'll get some few questions for our panelists, even a comment with regards to what we've been talking about. Madam Trophy, final remarks as we are ending this discussion.
Well, I believe happiness is not a one-size-fits-all. I believe it depends on a person. What might be happiness for you might not be happiness for me. For another person, it's marriage. But I know a common factor is money. And Dr. Kiraitu said something about money doesn't give you happiness. But here's the thing. We want to experience that first so that we understand that money doesn't give you happiness. And
Why don't you learn from experience?
we want to first experience that,
Yes,
and
yes.
then it will come to the realization. But I believe you're right, Dr. Ari, because even King Solomon, who walked the earth, who had everything a human being could desire, said, it's all useless. It's like chasing the wind. But we want to experience first that so that you can know you're chasing the wind. So I believe it's just not a one-size-fits-all, and it's not something that every day you'll be happy. But just go with it. Just go with it, that's all. That's my final remark.
Sophia?
Interesting thing, my final remarks are tied to what Trophy shared earlier, and she has just mentioned it again, which is also featured in this book of kids. It's actually loved a lot by professors. There's a page that says, the cloudy days. Sometimes the light feels hard to find. That's okay. Even when clouds cover the sun is still there waiting to shine again. And you mentioned about acceptance. It's about accepting this present moment and being in it. And always, Dr. Kiraito is always saying, if you ask people what happiness is, if you see a note that is saying present in the moment, just know it's me who wrote that. Because it's about feeling the emotion, being in it. So what dictates this, as we share at the Happiness Studies Academy, how we define it is behavior. So you feel it. After you feel it, how do you behave? Do you project or do you feel and then be proactive about the emotion? That is what defines, what makes the big difference, the trajectory on us staying happy, because we can.
CS Kiprono, from a governance perspective, representing ICS.
Thank you, and I appreciate this opportunity. For me, I think we need to know what defines your happiness as a person. And then we go back to our workplaces, ensure that we make our places a happy place of work, so that when I wake up in the morning, I go to job. I spend actually more than half of my lifetime in office. How can I be able to make that place happy? And it is actually the onus of the boards, the senior management, to ensure that they make the workplace a good working environment, so that employees, as they come to work and they produce, they spend their time, they deny themselves their time with their families and come to work, they are able to enjoy in that work environment. I think I want to just allow me to say and appreciate the Chief Happiness Officer for the opportunity that we had, and we had conversations. We even signed an MOU. There is quite a lot in the pipeline that you're working together. We need to assess happiness in our organizations, and I think we need to come out strongly. People have slid into depression. We've seen people throwing themselves down skyscrapers. We've seen others even not reporting to work, others even, wengine wanajinyonga, committing suicide. It's sometimes not because of the pressures at home, but the pressures at workplace. We know bosses and people who like sending emails even past working hours. And by the way, those small things affect us. It affects people who work. If I have the habit of instructing my employees even during the day like this, and expecting them to work, not untying them so that they are able to enjoy their time with their families, that will affect them, and that will affect the organization. So my request, and maybe working together with the Happiness Society of Kenya, we need to come up with a tool, do an assessment to organizations, and of course, check which is the happiest organization. And I think that will help a lot if you want to have this happiness cut across and permeate to all our organizations before even we go to ourselves. Thank you so much.
We will finish with our director, Bridget. Professor, even as you tell us when your book will be out, what is your final remark with regards to this conversation and your experience in different organizations and in government?
For those of us in leadership, we concentrate on creating an image that we want to be perceived by the public. And therefore, you emphasize achievements. But at the end of the day, everybody seems to be unhappy. So that's why we need a happiness indicator, showing how happy we are. And two, it is important for us to shift from GDP, gross national product, to gross national happiness. Why do we need gross national happiness? Because when people are happy, and you can tell they are happy, then the nation is prosperous. It cannot be happy and poor.
It's a very good way to set the priority.
Yes. People cannot be happy. I mean, a nation cannot be prosperous and people are unhappy.
Yes.
So the two correlates. Finally, it is important always because we have now we're moving from generation to generation. Somebody talked about, I think us are either millennials or baby boomers, then there are Gen X, and there are all these, and finally we are getting to beta. And these generations, as the CEO of Nations indicated here, is that temperaments are changing. Those of us who are employers in our offices are getting young people who have their own worldview of things. And therefore, it is important when we are inducting and mentoring people to define happiness in what it is. Happiness is a purpose. Happiness is a journey. Happiness is not an end. And it is possible, all the journeys to happiness, and I can distinguish between happiness as a concept and happiness as something that is sustainable. We talk about sustainable peace, sustainable development, sustainable this. Happiness must be sustainable. And what do you mean? How do you get to sustainable happiness? Sometimes it's through very difficult paths that on a day-to-day make you very unhappy. Nobody wants to go to war. But you have to go to war to get peace. And when you get peace, then you have happiness. So the journey to happiness might not always be happy. I think that's the point we need to make to everyone. Because it is assumed that you can get a happiness in itself. That's why people are running for money. People are running for everything else. So the philosopher, the German philosopher Nietzsche, said, the moment you conceive happiness as something you can buy, you have lost it.
Okay, National Bureau of Statistics, I believe a round of applause for that. Final remarks, even as we're talking about metrics, I know we had a conversation with you about how we can measure happiness here in Kenya. As we're winding up, before I even take a few questions or feedback from the audience.
Okay, thank you. Maybe my short words would be, whatever you measure, you can improve. Whatever you measure, you can manage. So let's measure, because you see, we are talking about happiness, but we don't know how happy we are or whether we are unhappy. So let's measure, and I am happy, as you said, we are moving in that direction to measure happiness. I hope we are going to measure the entire, not just the organizations, but across the country, so that we can know not just those who are working in the offices, because we also have that segment of population that are working in the farms,
yes,
and so forth. Thank you.
Director Bridget Butemi, before we take some Q&As.
Thank you very much. So listening to everybody else here, there are certain things that are coming out. That one, we need to make our organizations happy places. All the conversations that have been held earlier say that we need our organizations to be happy. So that puts pressure on the leadership. Now, but remember, these workplaces are also workplaces for these leaders that we are telling them to make employees happy. Let's begin here. Is the CEO happy? Before we tell him, make everybody else happy.
Is he happy?
Is the CEO happy? Okay? The assumption is because he is high up there, he is happy. Are you happy? At the workplace, before you make the other people happy. Let's begin that conversation there. Before you go and ensure that everybody else is happy. Are you happy because this is your workplace? Your son just brought you D- and you're this high-flying CEO, and you're talking to everybody about performance at work. Yeah? What I'm bringing out is that you're a human being first before you become that CEO. So your son brought you a D- at home and is also facing discipline issues at school. And you have called this meeting. I want you to imagine how that puts pressure on you as a human being leading this whole team, telling them about performance and discipline, while still at the back of your mind as a human being, you know that you have your son, your blood, one that you're thinking about every minute of this decision. Now, how possible are you to make a joke with a colleague when faced by this? So first of all, before we talk about workplace happiness, let's discover that happiness is for everybody, from the CEO to the cleaner. Yeah?
Round of applause for that. That is actually a very good point.
So even in a hotel like this, I like the melon that had welcome on it. You can see the passion in that employee. You need to find joy in your workplace. Whatever person you are, the workplace happiness program is supposed to make you know how to find joy yourself first. So we run master classes to help you recognize what it is, to know it, to intentionally pursue personal happiness before you can transmit it to everybody else. You can't give what you don't have. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So let's begin with you, then cascade it to everybody. We are working with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to develop a tool to measure happiness in the workplace, where all these matrices, all these measures will be defined, and so that we can measure happiness. The other thing I needed to say is about the need for happiness at the workplace. If very many people in the economy are workers, and they are unhappy, then how can we as a nation claim to be measuring our well-being by GDP? So we may need to go the Bhutan way so that we can measure our own happiness our way, so that we are not ranked by other people. By the way, when these measures ranked us at number 115 out of 157, whatever, were we asked? Who asked
Who was asked in this room?
Was anybody here? Did anybody ask you how happy you are? One of the measures they used, was how much money we earn per day, like $1 per day. We are earning below $1, therefore we must be very unhappy. In Kenya, you can earn nothing that day and still be happy. Go to Turkana, and so I find very happy kids. So that can't be a measure. We need to develop that, and we are working with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics for that. We are also working with ICS to run master classes to make you aware of what happiness is and how to intentionally pursue it. The word intentional here is used intentionally also. Why? There must be a conscious decision for you to decide this is what happiness is. Sometimes the happiness in the workplace has nothing to do with the workplace. I was driving to work, and then this matatu person shouted to me, "Sasa nani ana allow wa mama wa drive in our cities?" It's me. Now I'm giving an example of things that happen in our streets. Nani amepea wa mama gari sasa wamejaa huku kila mahali they are driving. That gets to me. And so someone else cuts in, someone else insults you. So I get to the workplace, I am agitated. You, HR, if you change workplace policies, you've not affected the world. I'll still be unhappy because my unhappiness did not come from here, but I brought it here. So what do you tell people? Separate work from? But can I separate what I feel? So what I need to do is train you to go beyond wellness, because wellness, you guys measure. Is your chair comfortable? Do you have free tea? Is the water clean? Are you happy? That's not happiness. That's wellness. That's comfort. That's survival. We want you to flourish, to do well, to, as a human being, to thrive, and that to happen to even the cleaner. I can go on and on and on this, because happiness is for everybody. The other thing I wanted to say is, organizations must make this a priority. If your employees are fraudulent, because like the banks, we have cooperative bank here. If employees are engaging in fraud, I didn't say cooperative banking is engaging. I'm saying employees in organizations engage in fraud. Why? Because they cannot find peace with their money. If you are at peace with your money, you'll not be looking for ways to cut corners to steal from the organization. Because you're a master of your money. You are aware of your money, and you have a good relationship with your money. Money is your friend, not your enemy, not something you chase and steal. You are at peace. If you're at peace, then you will not be stealing. You won't be stealing company time. If you cannot find peace, Mary, you look like you are hurrying. No, 1 minute. Okay. Let me just go on a little bit.
Yeah.
So, the other bit is about finding purpose and meaning in your work, finding joy in why you wake up. So are you happy on Monday, waking up to go to work? Suppose going to work aligns with your value as a human being, then how does that feel? It's different. So we help you find that purpose and meaning in the workplace. Thank you. I can go on.
Thank you.
You need to enroll in this program so that we can have this conversation a little more. Thank you.
Happy?
Happiness.
Happy?
Happiness.
If we can get 2 questions or a comment from someone.
I'll actually take the question, Kabiro,
Yeah.
but not now. I want you guys to stand. DJ, give me some music. We take a picture of the panelists.
Yes.
Please kindly stand here. We take a picture. Photographer, be ready. DJ, please. That's a happy girl. Very passionate. Simameni tu hapa mbele so that we can take next picture. Please, our CHO, come, CEO, Dr. Wasike, I'll also request you to come even if we've not given you a chance. Please, Mr. Getonga, kuja, take this picture. Yeah, you can stand there. Munaweza simama hapo chini pia. Yes, the directors of happiness, please, kujeni. All the directors of happiness. Yes. DJ, ongeza volume. Let's appreciate them. Tupige makofi. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. All right, thank you so much. DJ, continue playing some music. I want the photographers to go around and take a picture of every seat. Photographers, please go around, take pictures. The way people are seated, they can do a happy face. A happy face. A group can do a happy face, and then pictures are taken. We have not concluded. We want to call our guest speaker. So, Governor, please don't go. Photographer, please go around and take pictures. Give a happy face, eh? Munapigo picture. Is a happiness, nini. International